Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 8th edition of the European Film Festival in South Africa. Today, we're spotlighting a film from Ireland and from a first-time director. Ruth Meehan, welcome to the festival.
Thank you so much. Delighted to be here.
No, I know I say first-time director, but of course, this is probably technically inaccurate. You've probably done a lot of work, as most first-time directors have done, to get to this point. I mean, before you even complete your first feature film, you already have like a repertoire of work that you've built on, that you've worked on. And I mean, the film is a very well-crafted narrative, and I mean, your motifs and signifiers as well. I really loved how you weaved everything, even from the things you introduced in the beginning, and you paid everything off. So I could see that this was really, really well-crafted, and it didn't necessarily seem like first-time director, what you'd expect of a first-time director. Tell us briefly about your journey to getting to this point of making this particular film.
Well, thank you so much for receiving it that way. Well, I have had a kind of a dual career in that Ireland is a small industry. So I have worked in the television industry here, making documentaries and factual programming. And then I also studied screenwriting many moons ago in the NFTS in the UK. And actually, it's interesting that you observed some of the things in the crafting of it. And I actually think quite a lot of that comes out of years of writing badly, years of, sometimes I think, thank God I didn't get to make a film 20 years ago. You know what?
You're so right. I could see that. You weave so many specific things together and you tied it up in the end as well.
And I think a lot of that, after a lot of writing, a lot of that starts to find its way into your work without you trying to make it there. And I wrote with Jean Pasley, but both of us would be quite experienced. And the other thing, having come from a more of a factual and documentary background, and I've done an awful lot of travel documentaries, I'm very used to having to know very fast whether something is part of the story or in any given scene. That part of your mind that is editing it together as you go is happening a lot. And so we would have had quite a small budget for what our ambitions were. And we did a 25-day shoot, but I had a lot of locations and a lot of characters and a lot of emotion, our nuanced emotions. So I made very conscious decisions to focus on performance and on the story, and because, and I worked very much with J.J. Roth, the DOP, and also Mark Kelly, the designer, to create the look. But I knew that to work fast, I had to have focus. So once I felt the script was strong enough, there's that constant curating going on, and maybe that's where experience comes in. It's where you're kind of going, is this relevant? Can I get away with this? What's really essential? What can I lose? Because you're going to be losing things. You're going to have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Every filmmaker knows. I mean, you're going to have terrible choices when you're running out of time or something doesn't work. So it's always having that part of your brain that is doing that assessing for you.
Yes.
So part of it is the writing, and then the other part is delivering that by being able, I guess, to know what's essential and what you can lose.
Okay.
Yeah, so if that answers it.
And so how have people, I mean, you've just released the film. It's pretty much, you just released it quite recently, but what have the responses been like so far? Indeed, with everything that you've put out, like the choices that you've made that you've just spoken about now, but also just the subject matter and, breast cancer survivors and warrior women, as you put it in the film, what has the response been like?
The response has been amazingly positive. And I was nervous because there's a lot of irreverence. I think maybe one of the reasons I felt safe tonally taking on something very sensitive was because I was coming out of my own loss and grief of my sister and my friend, who the film is dedicated to, and warrior women everywhere. But I knew I needed pathos and humor, and the kind of tone of it maybe came out, like my sister had a really wicked sense of humor, and there was just this feeling of be real, you know, like, and we always, I was constantly thinking about the authenticity, and is this character, do I believe her? So even if she's being very obnoxious, do I feel it's true to her? And then can I track a journey with her? Will these, you know, myself and Jean, the other writer, like, will this narrative actually open up this woman really? You know, that thing where you're kind of going, am I the writer doing it, or the director doing it, or is a character doing it? So I think
Yeah.
that's the kind of place where, with this work in particular, I did my very best to keep an eye on not having something plastic or, you know,
Yeah.
because the subject matter is so sensitive to so many people and
Yeah.
touches so many people. And I've been amazed at how unanimous the response to that has been. I thought some people would really get it, and some people might be really upset by it or feel it was in some way insensitive or offensive, and they haven't. I think people can feel that maybe my own heartbreak in it, or, you know, the
Mm.
compassion in it. I don't know, but thankfully
But
it
Kate
has
is
been.
such a compelling character to kind of take us through this particular story. I mean, at some point, I felt like I'm not, you know, the film is not just, yes, the breast cancer is very much, it's the crux of it. It's like that, it's an inciting incident really that like takes her on with this journey of, okay, this is, you know, am I going to die or am I not? Am I, you know, is my, you know, where's my life going to go from this point on? But I felt like I was just watching this girl who just is so talented, is so incredible, who just hates herself and go through this journey. Yes, the what she's diagnosed with, the cancer comes as part of the journey, but I just felt like I was watching a character's journey, like literally her ups and downs, the weird feelings she has about herself, and just her trying to make sense of it also, and her struggling with her existence, even as successful as she was. So that, yeah, I just want to talk about just your characters in general. I would love to talk about Kate. I'd love to talk about Fiona, but I'm just going to summarize them and just say, you know, Kate for me almost wasn't not your typical kind of, you know, hot, flaky, promiscuous girl. She's smart and she's bold. Fiona is not just this aloof, rich person. She is compassionate. She's like the nicest one of the lot and the most thoughtful one, actually, you know, bringing gifts to everyone in the hospital, telling everyone, you know, I was like, she's so thoughtful and she is the nicest one. And then James, who was also a really beautifully well-rounded character. What was your process in kind of taking these characters that you had written on the page and now bringing them onto screen? And indeed, kind of, I felt like you flipped it a little bit. James was so, he had so many feminine qualities, but he was still so, you know, in his like masculinity as well. You know, all of those different things that were so evident in these characters. What was that? A little kind of insight into kind of what your process was with working with the actors to achieve what we eventually saw on screen.
Gosh, there's so much in that question, but a few things come to mind, which probably, I don't know if they're directly answering you, but the first thing that comes to mind that I felt it was the most important thing was to create a feeling of kind of psychological safety for the actors. Because I always felt this film had its own pulse, if that makes any sense. It's like it had its own life force, and I just wanted everybody to feel that themselves and connect to it. So Jean and I had written these characters, and like obviously in the writing we would be thinking deeply about, well, what's motivating them and where they're coming from, and you know, and I feel like there was a warmth always needed in the brotherly relationship, and also even the love interest, there's a real sensitivity there as well. And so there's a lot of the world of stand-up comedian is very masculine world generally, and breast cancer is a very feminine world, and there's a lot of merging of those energies. But ultimately, in terms of let each of the actors finding their way to a nuanced role, I think that I assigned that to them. Like, I think I mean, Amy Rowan, who cast it, I think we cast it very well, but then I really wanted just each character to somehow feel the story themselves,
Yeah.
you know, and, you know, I maybe it's a more feminine way of directing. It's like a midwife to the story. So I'm not trying to say, you do this and you do that exactly. It's more like, I'm going to try and create a space where everybody gets to find some little, isn't it always just about whether something is alive in the moment or not?
Yeah.
And on a shoot day, with all the pressures that go with a shoot day, I think I just was like, how can I help each actor feel as, secure as they possibly can, to relax, and then let something have its own, because it can be in a look, it can be just in some little, a lot of the best things are just little moments that happen.
Yeah.
And you can facilitate them, but you can't direct the hell out of people.
Actually, you're so right, because it's incredible what actors can bring when you give them the space and the platform to just, okay, I know you've got your own thoughts and your own ideas, bring it, like, do it, That's incredible. Well, I think you balanced that really incredibly. I felt it was seamless. It was fluid. It was beautiful. It was really, really nicely done. And I really liked, again, as I said, all of the different, just interactions and how they were portrayed on screen. I think this will have to be my last question. I have to ask you about, your choices within your kind of your female gaze. And I think my question would be, in shooting all of the nudity scenes, which I feel like they add very much also a very important part of the story, because I mean, this is the subject matter that we're dealing with, and also all of the sex scenes, because it's also part of what the character's grappling with and her own self-loathing issues that she's dealing with. Did you have a guiding principle in the way that you chose how you were going to shoot, what you were going to shoot with these very kind of intimate moments? And what did you not want to do?
Well, always, especially with sex scenes, you want to be able to communicate what is happening very in the character, even if that character is cut off. So let's say with Kate, the importance of the sex scene and the love interest was, it's a very strong way of representing her connection to the world. Like, she's separated, she's shut off, and she says that thing about being behind glass and not being able to reach life is happening and she can't access it. But so I kind of intuitively, even if you think about the kind of casual sex she's having, she's never intimately facing the man. And that's, she's objectifying her own body. She's actually, and it's not just in our case with this character, it's more like self-harm, because especially there's one particular scene that definitely felt like that, and it's very much connecting to her feeling about herself. And then when she is having sex in an intimate setting and she's facing somebody, intimacy comes up, emotion comes up, and she can't handle it. So the whole film is tracking what it takes to connect her to her heart, and that isn't to say people can have fabulous casual sex and be completely connected to their heart. Just our character is disconnected, and her sexuality is reflecting that. And so the way we're shooting it was supporting that communication, that she is not connected to herself in a way, and she's until she is, and so and then when she tries to, but she isn't able to, all the emotion comes up. It's not until that emotion is fully felt and not resisted that she is able to really connect. And she's only starting the journey at the end. She's only beginning, it's a rebirth story, really.
It is. I absolutely loved the water scene. I really did. I can't even get into that right now, but I loved that whole water sequence and the water scene, and her kind of, she's drowning, she's not, she's fighting for her life. It was really beautifully done, and like a nice, just like ending off and rounding off of everything, all of the game that signifies you put up until that point. Well, Ruth, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing the film with us. Thank you so much for the film being part of the festival. You're still at your beginning of your kind of distribution journey, so the very best to you with the film as well. I really hope it was going to be really well received everywhere, actually, and not just in the English-speaking territories.
Well,
so
thank you. And really lovely discussion. Thank you for taking the time to watch it and to dig deeply into it, and to then have lovely questions for me. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure. Just a reminder to everyone in the audience that we have 17 other films as part of the festival, all of them from Europe, and there are a select showcase of yeah, what's going on in the different industries within the European countries. 13 of these films are directed by women, including this one by Ruth. So there really are some really fantastic films as part of the lineup. I am Yolanda Mogatusi, and I will see you at the next one.